day, my name is Christelle from France, the Klerk Independent Technical Analyst, and this is officially my last Talking Technical. Thank you very much for all your messages and emails of encouragement. It is highly appreciated. The first one on our list is Bitcoin. These are weekly graphs, and we're looking at a line graph here. And if we use the stochastic to highlight overbought or oversold levels, we can see that both lines indicate the momentum to the bottom is still in place. That means that there's no turnaround yet, and we all know that we should not try to catch a falling knife. However, if we look at the price action and the graph itself, we can see that there has been a trend line that I've drawn that has kept the momentum to the top in place since January of 2024. There was a little bit of a false break and a whipsaw, yet between the time of the 26th of August 2024 and again the 16th of September, and then again a slightly yet towards the end of September. But the rest of the time, this trend line was tested and kept a support, tested and kept a support. And very important as well is the fact that this trend line is very close to the 40-week moving average. And we know that is the line in the sand for long-term investors. Above it, the long-term sentiment is seen as positive, and below it changes to negative. So we're at the brink of both the trend line as well as this 40-week moving average. So should the investors start to protect Bitcoin and start to buy the instrument, then one, this trend line will remain a support. Two, as well as the 40-week moving average. And over time, my stochastic will start, that blue line, the K percentage line, will start to break upwards through the orange line, which will confirm a positive divergence, which will increase the likelihood of a bounce to upper levels. My first sign of strength on the price action will be above $86,084, and then obviously all the other levels towards the top, and we can use candles for that, or Fibonacci levels. Very important, the high of that candle in the week of the 3rd of March is 94,422. That is your next level of resistance that has to change into a support in order to sustain the momentum to the top. Yes, history is a perfect science, and it's important to highlight once again that a inverse cup and handle formation, and some might even call it a double top. I want to call it an inverse cup and handle formation because my second resistance is a little bit lower than the first one. And that highlights that the top of the instrument was in place. So technically here, when there was a negative divergence with a warning formation at the top, one should have considered taking profit. Great. Now we're in oversold territory, so we want to consider buying something again. So again, my first sign of strength, if you want to preempt it, let's use a candle graph. If you want to preempt it, you can either use this week's high, which is 81,180, and keep in mind that candle is not finished yet. It will only be finished by Friday's close. Or you can use on the line graph that I've given, or the candle, 88,563. That will be your first sign of confirmation of strength. And below that 40-week moving average, 79,886, we can assume that the long-term sentiment will change to negative. And very important, below this week's low, waiting at 74,434, can we assume again that the main momentum to the bottom will continue. FirstRand. Also nicely oversold at the moment, which is an ideal place to accumulate a share, right? My stochastic is sitting here at a 19, and the orange line at a 23, and that tells me that there is a possibility that the buyers will be attracted to the share. Yes, and they have. Clearly on a line graph, we can see that there was a clear support. Now there's a strong horizontal line that I've drawn there that's waiting at, let's say, 60 Rand, 59 Rand, 99. If I move this up a little bit, we can see it's a very close level, again here around 63 Rand 23. If I go back to that timeline on the 3rd of June, and again here, very close on the 6th of November, and again here on the 19th of December, 17th of April. So a strong support that has to remain in place in order to sustain the momentum to the top. If I go back to a candle graph, I can see that this is a protection candle, right? A piercing candle, where the buyers have definitely started to buy the dips at the low of 59 Rand and 8 cents. And first sign of confirmation of strength will be above this week's high at 66 Rand 44. And this ugly bearish engulfing candle, also almost a negative Marubozu. It shouldn't have a shadow then at the top, but a ugly waterfall formation, right? That has caused massive selling. But we can see in this week's candle, buyers are using this as an opportunity to accumulate the share. It is trading below the 40-week moving average, telling me that the long-term sentiment towards the share is negative, right? So my next strong resistance it has to overcome is again waiting there around that 40-week moving average, very close, as well as that horizontal line, 76 Rand 88. Very important here. There is, so since that top, and I'll give you that date now, let me just do that. Never mind. There is lower highs, right? All the way, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. And that was confirmation of loss of momentum and the fact that the share, that as soon as there was a bounce, investors took profit. Now, and that timeline is the 26th of August 2024. So what we can see is we can also start to see higher lows, right? Because the behavior of an individual in the past is more likely that it will continue in the future. And that's exactly what technical analysis is. It shows us the behavior of the share. It shows us how investors react to it, and whether it's a good or a bad thing. You can see it technically on a graph. And we can now possibly see that the share going forward will do the same. You'll start to see higher lows, which is fantastic because that will be confirmation of strength. And for those of you who want to accumulate the share again over time can use those higher lows to do so. 63.23, as I've said, is a strong support that has to remain in place. Don't have a positive divergence yet. My stochastic, my blue line has not broken upwards through the orange line yet, but I assume as the momentum to the top will continue, the stochastic will follow. Shoprite. Also a share that is nicely oversold. Investors always want to use opportunity here to accumulate. Also, very important, look at that double top formation. That double top formation with a stochastic that could not even get to a 90 with a negative divergence was an indication to take profit, right? Take the small, take the easy money, take the slices of the cake, because that's how you grow your account. My 40-week moving average, the red line, has changed into a resistance, and that tells me that the long-term sentiment is negative. We're again at a very crucial support level, waiting at 249 Rand 50, excuse me. The previous support is waiting at 231 Rand 52. So let's hope that the investors keep this level of 249 Rand 50 a support, right? My stochastic is oversold, an ideal place to buy a share. Technically, I would like that blue line, the K percentage line, to break upwards through my orange line. That will be confirmation of a positive divergence. And then we can start to accumulate, right? What will be a clear protection level? I can use the low of this week, 234 Rand 21, or the 231 Rand 52 level. Use an average true range indicator to highlight if you are giving the share enough breathing space or not. That is an indication of the in a week or in a day what the range is of what the share has moved in, because you don't want the share to, or the stop loss just to be triggered and then go into the direction that you had. We can see these levels of these shadows, 278 Rand 78. Also very clear resistance levels that needs to change into a support in order to sustain the momentum to the top. But nevertheless, nicely oversold in a market that has really come back. This can be an opportunity for investors. Clicks, ticker on our exchange, CLS. Beautiful positive divergence. My blue line has broken upwards through my orange line, right? I did this on a candle graph, so let's go back to the candle graph. I need to take my shadows, my trend line needs to touch either shadows or real bodies, right? And you can count them. The more shadows or real bodies gets touched, I only count them when they touch it, right? Not if they pierce through it. So we've got 1, 2, that's a piercing, I'm not counting that. 3, 4, 5, that's a strong trend line. So I can see, listen, as soon as this trend line changes into a support, along with a positive divergence, that will be an indication to accumulate the share on an opportunity that the sellers have dried up and that there are only buyers left. And that would be, I would say, about this week's high, which is running at 341 Rand 87. It probably will be a little bit before that, depending on how this candle finishes, right? How it ends, because these are weekly graphs and it will only be finished by Friday's close. Nevertheless, a ugly waterfall formation and even a wedge type of formation where this lower band, let me just draw that for you. Let's see, we're touching that line. I don't want it to pierce it. I want to touch it, right? Touching. One, two, three, real body. 4, shadow. 5, strong trend line. What do we see here? A falling wedge formation. The optimism around a falling wedge will be confirmed when that upper band changes into a support. Below this lower band, the momentum to the bottom will increase again. And I will use the low of this week's candle, waiting at 313 Rand 82 as a protection level, or as the support that needs to hold in order to sustain the momentum to the top. If you've got questions, please feel free to send through your emails to frans@fransdeklerk.com or message him via Twitter, Trader France. Have a fantastic week. Take care.